Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Prosperity Through Multifamily Real Estate Investing podcast. I am your host, Real Estate Cody, and with me, as always, the one and only coffee connoisseur himself, Mr. Brian Alfaro. What's up, buddy? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Real Estate Cody. Super excited for our guest on our show today.
Yeah, I know. And hey, perfect timing, right? We just launched a new offering and, we're collecting investor funds and whatnot, which leads us right into our perfect conversation for today. So tell the audience who we're speaking with.
Today we have Brad from InvestNext. Brad is the head of partnership development with InvestNext, and he has been in real estate or investments for about 20 years. Over the last 5 years, Brad ran a successful investor relations department and then made the switch over to InvestNext, where his focus has been helping investor relation departments successfully utilize technology to help grow their business. Brad, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was good. I know we got a chance to catch up a couple weeks ago in Dallas, so it's good. That was fantastic because we've been going back and forth. So good to be on the show, and hopefully I can provide some value for either investors or GPs that are trying to grow their business. So good to be on.
Absolutely, man. We're excited to have you on. And, it's been a pleasure working with you and your team over there at InvestNext. And for any of the audience that may be tuning into our show recently, we did a recording, man, about over a year ago. I think it's one of our first earlier episodes with one of the founders, Mr. Kevin Harris. That was our introduction into InvestNext. And then it's been off to the races since. But for those who may be hearing this for the first time and trying to figure out, hey, who the heck is InvestNext? Tell the audience what you guys do and how do you service the real estate syndication world.
Yeah, so we're an investment management platform. So it's a solution for sponsors, GPs, co-GPs, anyone who's raising capital to help you manage your investors, pay your investors, send documents to your investors. So K1 season, they can manage all of that stuff. So helps you manage basically your investor base, your capital raising, and then creates that transparency from you and your group and your projects that you're working on, your deals, your funds, whatever, to the investor. So the investor then can log into your portal and they can see everything real time versus having something on a spreadsheet, which is how most typically get started. And that's how I used to do it back, 5 years ago when I was raising capital. But I think it just creates more professionalism for you as a company, especially if you're starting out. They've got a place to go and actually visually see everything. It's kind of like people like to see it, touch it, feel it. And if they can log in somewhere and see their investments, it just makes them feel a little bit better for themselves. So we try to manage the whole process, the not so fun part of capital raising, and then the even not so fun part of like paying the distributions out and managing that whole process, and trying to make that a little bit easier and streamlined for you. So that's it in kind of like a 30,000 foot view.
Well, I tell you, it's so important, and this is something that Brian and I preach all the time: is systems. Automating your business, efficiency. And I think a platform like InvestNext definitely helps fill that void, right, Brian? I mean, the more that you can streamline and become more efficient on one platform, it definitely helps you as an operator, but it also, Brad, to your point, it does help you build I think a better trust with your investor database, because it is professional, it is organized, it is streamlined. And it's user friendly, which is also great. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I think what's really important, and I know that's probably one of your goals at InvestNext, Brad, is you want to remove as much friction as possible, right? It's already hard enough to get somebody to want to invest with you. It's a nurturing process to get somebody to send you $50,000, $100,000. But the last thing you want to do is, when they're finally ready to invest, is make the process complicated, right? So that's sort of that's your job at InvestNext, is to provide value to us in a way to make that capital raising experience much easier. And I think there's something to be said definitely about that professionalism element to make that as frictionless as possible and make it easy on the investor.
And to that note, you're dealing with typically probably ultra high net worth, accredited investors. You may be doing 506B where it's not accredited, but you only have so much time for them to invest. So if it's the process is hard, they may just say, I'm not going to do this. I'll just, I'll go to the next deal or whatever. So trying to make that as simple as possible, because you may have 20 minutes of their time. is something crucial, and that's something we're always kind of working on. Like, how can we improve this? So that's why we have, the ability for investors to sign in the portal, send you funds through the portal, because you may not get that back. And another thing that I experienced we used to send out emails to everyone when I was actually capital raising. So we'd send the whole PPM, the subscription agreement, and I'd send a detailed email. And it was like a novel of stuff like, this is how you fill it out. But I thought it was good because it detailed everywhere they need to sign. But when you send a document, it used to be they were, printed up, fill it out by hand, send it back to us, and they're just filling out everything, or they're just not filling out a lot at all. They're not reading my email. So that was one of the main things we wanted, was having the portal force the different investors based off of how they're investing. If they're investing through like an individual, or if they're investing through an LLC, that it forces them to fill out those fields properly. Because the last thing you want is an investor to send you all the documents. They think they've got it all done. And then you go back and say, hey, thanks for the $250,000, but you missed page 2 on here. Could you go back and re-sign this? So I think it helps with that process, and it eliminates those weird conversations that you may be a little, at least I used to be intimidated by them like that. I mean, if we're dealing with a doctor here and he missed one little thing on this sheet, do we really need him to do it and, fill this out? And yes, you do. Because the last thing you want is the SEC coming back and be like, hey, you missed this here. And it could open you up for stuff. So that's one thing we're active. We're always like, all right, how can we make it not only professional, but how can we make it, correct and help you guys or any syndicators out of filling out the documents? Because it seems like once, at least with newer GPs or newer sponsors, they're not really familiar with the documents. I mean, the attorney sends it to them, especially the first deal. Then they're just like, all right, let's raise capital. I don't see attorneys going over like, hey, this is where you should fill this out. This is what a subscriber is. This is what you need to put in this spot, et cetera. It's just kind of like, here's your legal documents, and good luck, and send them back to me when you get them done. So we're trying to just, how can we make that process easier? How can we make it accurate? And how can we make it easier for the investors as well too? So it's always a work in progress, but I think we're doing a pretty good job of it.
Well, you guys are doing a great job. And then that's one of the fun things about working with you guys. But I want to go back to your point, because you hit the nail on the head here when it comes to, again, that efficiency or that user-friendly interface. And you're absolutely right. I mean, these are very, very busy professionals that their time is very, very limited, right? And this is both for sophisticated and accredited investors, but everybody's time is very limited. And when it comes to these capital raises, right, it's time sensitive. You have deadlines you've got to meet, you have funding dates you have to meet. And so chasing people around to get documents signed, or like you said, oh, I missed the signature or whatnot, that can be a very frustrating process and can be very irritating to the investor. You're absolutely right. And so the more seamless the process can be, the more I think trust the investor is going to have in you and your ability to make this a very smooth investment offering for them. And that's so important.
Yeah, especially when you're that close, like you want to get the cash. So how quickly can you get the cash? And that's why we added the ability to actually accept ACH inbound too. So they don't have to go to the bank to send the funds. I mean, if they go wire the funds, it's actually a little quicker, but we found most people are willing to just send ACH. It'll take a couple days, but if I'm, if it's Thursday, I have 20 minutes, I can knock that whole thing out. I can send my money. Then I don't have to worry about, going to the bank or, trying to set an appointment to the bank to then wire funds or doing it from my phone or whatever. But you can kind of just knock it out in one spot, which is one key thing that we were so excited about kind of rolling out at the beginning of the year. And it's like, all right, that helps again, but what else can we do to kind of streamline this? We're always looking at different things and always trying to take feedback. Like, all right, how can we incorporate this? How can we incorporate this? Because it's crazy to think like capital raising would be, like, this is how you capital raise, but everyone comes in and it's like different. It's chaos, and it's fantastic because it like breaks the system. It's like, all right, this is what they need. How do we get this in there so they can raise capital, or so so it's always good just with the different the newer GPs, the newer co-sponsors, and trying to figure that out. And how can we make this streamlined, and then how can we back ourselves away from it and open up enough stuff for you guys to kind of like run your day-to-day, so you're not waiting on us to either approve stuff or delete stuff or et cetera. So it's always kind of a work in progress. But at the same time, how do we not let sponsors kind of mess something up. So like deleting projects, for example, we do that on our end because we don't want someone to accidentally delete a project and then go, all right, I just had 40 investors on that. Now the project's no longer on the portal. How do we get that back? So there's a few things we still kind of keep on our side until we're comfortable with it. But it's interesting. And my goal is always, it's like a fight with development of, all right, I want to open up everything, let them do everything, let them mess it up. And you're always like, no, we don't want them to mess this part up. I'm like, all right, I can't understand. But if we see stuff over and over, like I'll fight to kind of get it. Like, all right, let's maybe open this up a little more. But just to kind of keep everything secure, So.
I was gonna say, yeah, keep that level of protection because I mean, Brian, we all know, right? I mean, we're so busy. You get so many different hats to wear and so many different responsibilities. It's very easy to make a quick mistake, especially if it's at a push of a button. And look, I mean, some of us are not tech experts, so
right.
These platforms are great, but you don't want it being in the hands of people that don't really understand how to navigate them. So keep those level of protection because when things go wrong, fingers get pointed, right? They automatically start pointing elsewhere. So
for sure. And that's what our development's really good with, is a lot of things that I get from our investors and or our clients and trying to push, or the investor side too. And they're like, but what about this case? And I'm like, all right, that makes sense. Yeah. All right. I wasn't thinking about that. So,
and that's
so they're pretty good at
things
sticking with everything.
I think we like, Cody, is in how much InvestNext listens, right? They're listening to their users, they're listening to their clients and adding the features that we're requesting. And I think that's not something you get sort of that small business feel, even though InvestNext is a growing company. I think that customer service element is definitely something that we should talk about. So Brad, over at InvestNext, what's your philosophy with customer service with your clients? What are you guys looking to do as far as growth and things of that nature, and where are you going in 2022?
Yeah, so we just did a capital raise, and we were lucky enough to have some great partners from around we're a Detroit-based company, so we had couple Detroit venture firms, Grand Rapids, which is on the west side of the state, one out of Canada as well. So we got the Midwest, that's kind of our roots. So we're happy about that. But what we're going to do with some of that capital is obviously put it back into development for different things. One of those is going to be fund manager. So we've got some really big REITs that are starting to look around for fund management, and we're like, all right, how can we incorporate that? Why do we want them to go somewhere else? Let's try to incorporate that. So we're actively working to get fund management up, and I'm not sure the timing of when this is going to be released, but I think rather quickly we'll be able to turn that and say, all right, how can we help manage your REITs? How can we help manage these big I mean, we have some with over 50 different projects that instead of them hiring someone, they just want us to kind of manage everything for them. So we're actively developing that, and we're putting some cash towards that. We think there's a lot of value for that for some of our clients. We have some newer funds that are asking for fund management, but I tell them, honestly, I don't know that you need that right now. I mean, we can do this, manage all this. If it gets too busy, then we can kind of go that route. And now that we'll be able to offer that, that'll be something that we're very excited about. But you can still manage it all in the portal. I mean, you can pay them, you can set up distribution plans that, if you have, less than 100 investors, you should be able to manage that. No problem. Hopefully, if we're doing our job right. So some will say, kind of give my opinion, they can do whatever they wish. And at least we'll have the fund management, it'll be cool. But what else we're going to do is then get obviously more developers, get into customer success, more sales, more marketing, but customer success is a huge part of kind of what we drive for. And it's just, how can we get you set up in the portal? And we always have a deployment call. And that's, some people will try to speed that process up, but I say, that's the most important call I think we have, besides going over the portal with you, is all right, here is what we can do. But then the deployment calls, we have someone from our either customer success or deployment team will hop on and show you, all right, here's a checklist, how you brand this out. This is how you can walk through, if you have any help questions you need. We have help articles that we create videos or screenshots from based off of the questions that we get. So if we start seeing an influx of questions about how do I create e-signature documents, we'll create a video over that. And then help you, hopefully, like I said, walk away. Like, how can we remove ourselves? And if we keep having help articles, videos, that'll hopefully have you drive there and then manage it all yourself without having us kind of help out. But you don't have to wait an hour for us to respond, or 2 hours, or a couple hours, or it may be to a little quick question. You should be able to find those answers, and that's kind of what we're driving for. So get more help articles. I know we've got over, I think, 100 some. We're always changing, editing those. And we're always working out bugs or changing or adding new features based off, like we have a soft commitment feature, which is really cool. And then it's like, all right, now we need to change this video again because we do all this stuff. But customer success, I think, that's where I started with the company. And it's something I'm pretty passionate about, because it's if it takes too long, it drives me crazy. And I always want to hop on and kind of help people out. But so after deployment, going back to the original question, so after deployment, then we're like, all right, how can we still help everyone? And for those that are not tech savvy, we'll set up maybe a weekly call if we have to try to get up and running. If you need someone to help you build out your first capital raise, we'll hop on a call. We've got videos that'll show you, but we'll hop on a call, because setting it up correctly the first time, and the most important part is the e-signature documents, but setting those up correctly is going to be the best experience for your investors. Getting back to, you only have 20 minutes, let's have them sign the documents correctly. And it helps you, because then you hopefully won't have to answer, a bunch of questions if you set it up correctly. The system should just flow. So training, I think we're going to start incorporating some training sessions where we'll have maybe once a month a demo of, like, this is how you create capital raises. That's kind of what we're going to. But I think customer success, we're always trying to be quicker, but I think we still do a pretty good job. I know we tell everyone less than 24 hours, but it seems to be way quicker than that. But if you can't manage the portal, or we're stopping you, preventing you from doing something, let's open that up as long as it makes sense, and then let's try to help you as much as possible, but not do everything for you. That way you kind of, you teach how to fish, but giving you fish isn't gonna help you down the road for subsequent deals. So that's kind of our philosophy with the customer success.
Well, I definitely agree with your point about the customer success being the most important, right? Because as operators, as people that are managing, other people's capital and documentation, reporting, all the things that come along with syndication, we want something that's streamlined for us as well, right? Us as the primary user who's setting up the portal and working and navigating our investors through the portal. If it's difficult for us, it's going to be difficult for our investors. And I think you're right. I think having, the capability to provide feedback or provide context on, hey, it would be great if you could do X, or if this was a little bit different and looks like this. And then you guys take that feedback and really work with your clients to see if that's something that is doable or a consistent problem and something that can be innovated, whatnot. So I think that's really good, because ultimately, again, it goes back to that efficiency piece. Whatever is the easiest for us to create this very easy interface that we can use and navigate, so our investors can see that. So what do you think, Brian?
Absolutely. It's all about just making everything convenient, right? We live in a society where everybody is strapped for time. That's what this all comes down to. So, making the customer success calls, to the point, so we're not wasting each other's time, and then getting our stuff set up as quickly as possible, and then getting the investors in the portal and making it as easy as possible. And as I've used InvestNext before, Cody, we've submitted funds to InvestNext on both sides, on the GP and LP side, and we can speak from experience that it's been a great experience so far. And I think the funnel, the way it works, we're really big fans of it. So Brad, you guys are doing a phenomenal job. Keep up the good work.
Thanks. I appreciate that. That's awesome, especially if you're on both sides of it to see how it works. And I think that, like, the easy to navigate things, the thing we're trying to really hit home. So we're talking, like, do we develop an app down the road, which I think we're probably going to. So to make that, at least, so the investors are signing. I mean, they can still sign on from the phone, but maybe an app makes it a little bit easier. So we had feedback for that, which we're kind of going to be diving into that. And then just more user friendly. So we just rolled out Investor Portal 2.0, which we've had our old Investor Portal side. So now it's like a newer look, a cleaner look, hopefully easier to navigate. We used to send, you'd send documents to an investor, they'd get updated, and then they'd have to find the documents. So now we're really, like, smacking them in the face for that. Or if they log in, we're going to hit them in the face with a new offering. Like, here's the new offering, it's at the top of the screen. to kind of make those steps a little bit easier. So it's always like feedback from, groups like yourself that it's like, all right, this makes complete sense. Like, how did we miss that? And then how quickly can we get that into the portal? Some stuff may take huge development, and I'm not the tech guy. I'm more of like the sales business development guy, but it's like, it seems like this should be easy. And sometimes it takes way longer than I think, especially when we're close to stuff. So we got a couple, like a new feature rolling out. For example, we've had a group come back and say, all right, so you can send out a deal room to everyone. So you can create this pretty little deal room, send it out. And if investors don't have a username or password with you, they can click this apply to reserve, and they fill out this form that you can create. You can ask whatever questions on the form, and it'll follow back to the contact. One of them we typically saw a lot was, how much are you willing to invest, or how much do you want to invest on this? And they were answering that, and it would follow back to the contact, but they would do this in a deal. So you guys have a new deal out. If you have that field in there, we're like, someone said, why can't we just have that now be their soft commitment? Because we were then having them register, they create their username, password, and then they go back into the deal room, and then they commit a soft commitment. And we're like, oh, it makes complete sense. I don't know why we didn't do that earlier. So we're coding that, and that should hopefully, I was testing it last night, and hopefully that's done by tomorrow. But I don't know, this could be another week of testing. I don't know how long. It just seems like, all right, it's working. I've tried it 7 times. That seems like it's doing good. But like something small like that, it's just like, wow, how did we miss that? Like, why do we want the investor then? I mean, they're essentially putting that soft commitment. Let's have that now go to an opportunity in the deal room and add themselves to an opportunity. So now you have that, so they don't have to go back and then hit that dollar amount again. So you're getting quicker, a little bit easier for them, and it avoids hopefully some confusion, because somewhere like, we did that. I thought we filled it out in the form. We were like, all right, this data was going to the contact, which was cool. You could then search for it, but then there was a couple other steps you had to do or they had to do. So I'm excited about that. And that's just one of those cases where it's like, all right, I think we're ready to rock with this, but hopefully it's my ignorance to the development side of, is it ready? I don't know. It seems like it's ready, but so we'll push that out pretty soon, and you guys should probably utilize that. It's one of those little features that we knock out every once in a while. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And I don't know if it seems that big to development because they have so many things, but it's like, it just makes the process a lot easier for you guys and for the investor.
It's always the little things.
Yeah, we love hearing that. All the developers listening, though, they're probably shaking their head like, this guy.
I think whenever they see my name for something pop in, they're like, oh, this guy's gonna be.
Man, you guys got a great team, and again, I think you've done a phenomenal job on really working, like you said, working with the clients, really continue to evolve. I think that's really great. Is continue to expand, again, innovate this platform and whatnot. Like you said, to always make it the best experience that you can for both the GPs, the LPs that are coming into the portal and such. But Brad, this is a very crowded space. I feel like, the tech space is very, very popular. There's a lot of new platforms coming to market, whether it be through investor management or other type of platform. What do you think is the thing that differentiates InvestNext from, your other competitors, I guess, in your market?
I think our distribution waterfall, hands down, is I'd say the best. I've used a few of them. To manage your investors after, I mean, that's one thing to kind of capital raise. That's cool. You get the, helps with that process. Awesome. But to manage the investors after that's where we've pulled from other companies. Right. All right. Like, it's crazy to me that some of the bigger ones don't pay ACH distributions still, or writing checks. So we'll send an ACH. We've had some that have left other companies just based off of the ability to actually manage the investors after the deal's done. And you can set up your waterfall, and it creates all that for you. So you don't have to do it in Excel anymore. Excel leaves so many rooms for error. And that kind of gets to another thing that I think some newer GPs will start with, is that they create these crazy waterfalls to start. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that complex. You don't have to have 3 different classes based off of how much they invest. And then you're taking a portion of someone's who invested less as funds for an asset management fee, and then add an IRR hurdle. And it's just confusing to some of these newer investors. And it's like, if you just keep it simple, I think investors like that a little more. But anyway, getting back to the original question, I think I love our distribution waterfall. I love that you set it up, you run it. If there's an error in the bank account, you just go back into the distribution. Like, so the investor put in something incorrectly, you just hit it again. sends the funds back out, or they can change it. You can send a check to them if you want. It's helped a lot of our clients with that process, that if you haven't done it before, you don't know how terrible that process is, because some still have to go to the bank. And if you have 30 projects, you're going to the bank and spending all day sending distributions out, and you've got Excel spreadsheets that you're going over with a banker. And it's, I love that aspect of it. And once we start rolling out the fund management too, I think that'll be really cool. But I think that's kind of the main thing. And I'd like to say customer success too. I think we're doing a really good job of that. And I hope we continue to keep the turn times up as quick as they are. But I know from us, for an experience, because we are a software company that uses software companies, we know that some we email, it's going to be 4 weeks before they respond to us. We have some that's going to take a week, some a couple weeks, some a couple days, but no one's really that quick. And we can't be that slow, because otherwise people are going to go somewhere else, especially when they're first starting up. So it's adamant that we block out time to, for someone on the team to like hit those emails back in the morning, hit them up back in the afternoon. Some other people will kind of dive in throughout the day, and it's, we need to, that's our top focus is you guys, and just trying to, how can we make it quick? How can we make it as painless as possible? I mean, you're raising capital, you're using technology. There's probably going to be issues at some points, but how quickly can we fix them or resolve them, or, get it fixed, then move on. So that's kind of always at the top of our mind.
Yeah, I love it. And Brian, that's why Jay from InvestNext was blowing us up when we first started. Remember, we had to tell like, Jay, we're good, man. We're gonna give us some.
No, the customer service was phenomenal, to be honest. I mean, he was on top of all his stuff, and he was following up with us, and we had recurring meetings, and he was checking in. And it's better to be there more than you need, which is definitely the case, versus not being there enough, right? And maybe you need some support, and the guy you're supposed to be talking to for support, you can't get a hold of. That definitely wasn't the case for Jay. So we definitely had a great experience with the onboarding process.
Yeah, Jay's been phenomenal, and he's so smart with technology. And it's funny because he's part of our international team, because he's from Toronto, just outside Toronto, so he's Canadian. But he's brought in so many different processes and different software solutions that have helped streamline a lot of this stuff. Just like he's built some AI into the guy's phenomenal. He's super smart. He's got a great finance background. So just having him, and I always default to him with any like customer success stuff, but he's just like, some of the stuff he's come up with, I'm like, Jesus, this guy's an absolute genius. So it's good to have him on our side for sure. And he's Canadian. I mean, he doesn't get much nicer than the Canadians. He's super nice. But he's good. We're happy he's on the team. The whole customer, James from customer success, I'm not sure if you've gone back and forth with him at all. He's super smart too. Kind of newer on the team, but he's done a phenomenal job just diving into it. It's crazy to have, because as we hire new employees, especially for customer success, it's tough for them to kind of grasp this whole industry. It's tough for people. I have realtor friends that it's tough for them to grasp what we even do. And that always blows my mind. It's like, you should be trying to have your investors get into stuff like this. Like, you should know this for sure. So to bring, customer success on, it's tough sometimes to grasp it and then figure the tack and what we need to do. But, everyone from customer success, but James has kind of adapted to that real quick too. So, it's interesting, because we're in an interesting alternative investment classes, and it's crazy once you grasp it. Though it's like, this is a beautiful thing. This is better than mutual fund. This is better than going to a financial advisor, and have them just throw you whatever kind of deals they have in their portfolio that they get paid off of. It's actually the investor driving this themselves and finding these deals and partnering people like you guys. And it's like, once they they do the work, they should, they invest in you guys, research you guys. And then at that point, they know if you're bringing them deals from now on, they trust you guys, and they should be able to feel confident in all those deals that actually fall on the table that you present them. So it's an interesting time that we're kind of at right now.
It's a fun time for sure. It's a great time to be an investor right now. And, real estate's been succeeding quite well, both pre and post COVID. So I definitely do agree. And, Brad, we've been talking a lot about InvestNext from, I think, more of the operational side, for the general partner who's managing their investor database through their portal, but I kind of want to pivot a little bit and talk to the process for the limited partners that are coming in through these portals. And really, so, when we talk about passive investors, when they're vetting the sponsors that they're working with, looking at sponsors that are experienced, looking at sponsors that have good systems and great communication. And, I think having an investor management portal like InvestNext is a component of that. And I say that because, if you have guys that don't have good systems and don't have good processes in place or good tools like InvestNext to help automate their business, then that leaves you exposed to mistakes happening. I think we alluded to that earlier in our conversation, right? But look, we have guys that are wildly successful raising capital using Excel-based spreadsheets. I mean, that's their skill and that's what they do, and that's great. But I think overall, in general, I think as a passive investor, when you're considering working with somebody, if they're sending you individual emails or you're just getting, I don't know, Brian, what are some of the other things that we've seen? Checks sent in the mail, documents that you have to print and sign, those type things. Like you said, it becomes more of a labor intensive process. I think for the passive investor, that's something to really kind of keep an eye on when you're talking about vetting your sponsors and what type of systems they have in place. What do you think, Brian?
Absolutely. I think it's important that you understand what you're getting into before you wire your money, right? So if it's really complicated to get your money into the portal, to fill out the documents, to get in touch with the sponsor and to communicate, then what type of experience do you think you're going to have for the next 3 to 5 years, right? You're going to have a little bit of a frustrating process getting updates, getting your money, which is arguably the most important part, not only your returns, but getting your capital back. So I think as an LP, it's definitely one of those questions. We always talk about what are the types of questions should you ask a sponsor before you invest in the deal? And everybody wants to know what the cash on cash is and the IRR, what's the hold period, what's the business plan. But I don't think it's brought up enough that you should ask about what type of systems are you using to not only manage the asset, property management software, but what type of systems are you using to manage your investors? How are you going to make the experience a good experience for me?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think vetting the sponsors is huge, and don't vet them on that deal. Because that's just a deal. Like vet them, like vet you two, and see what kind of people you are. What's their, and then you guys should be finding out what's their investment thesis. Is it it's a younger person maybe, and they just want their equity to just multiply. So they might be looking at equity multiple and say, all right, I don't really need the funds every month. I'm good for like development deals because I don't need this. I don't need to see any returns for 3 years. Or is it someone who's maybe dependent on that monthly cash on cash? So there's like, not only for them vetting you, which they should say, they should invent you two. And then they can dive into the deal and see what it is. But you guys should also be vetting them as well. I mean, what are you looking for? And then when you get those deals, like, all right, you know to send those investors those deals, because there's different appetites. There's investments that I love that are, if you do like a value add that you keep for 10, 15 years or something, but if you can refi it in 18 months and I get all my cash back as an investor, I don't really care what the returns are after that. If it's a couple percent a year to 5% a year, that's fine because I have all my money back. And the next deal you have, I can throw that all back into that. And then that just starts compounding. So now I'm getting 10% pref or 8% pref off this 50 grand one time. I get all that back 18 months later. Then I can reinvest it in the next deal. And I'm getting 8 to 10% pref on the actual cash again, but I'm still getting a couple percent from this cash flow that you're just building. Plus I have equity in that first deal too. And it's just, I think a lot of those ones get overlooked, but I love those longer value add deals that you hold for a little while, and then return. So there's just different investors that have different appetite. It's just kind of you guys knowing them and asking the right questions. And then hopefully that's cool if they'll probably vet the project pretty hard, but they should be vetting you guys as well and kind of like your character and who you guys are and what's your goal is the next 10, 15 years. And when I used to raise capital, we used to get a ton of questions from potential investors that we didn't know because we got into podcasts and people find out who we were, didn't really know us. But I loved like a lot of questions up front too. At a point, it got to a point where it's like, all right, we already answered this, but then it eliminates questions down the road. So when you have a deal, they've already vetted you and asked a ton of questions. They typically aren't going to ask questions on the road versus someone who thinks it might be, they're used to development deals. Or maybe they're used to cash deals every month, and then now you do a development deal, and they're like, why, where's my money? It's like, well, this is different investment. You're not getting it month to month. You're getting it 3 years down the road, and it may be something they're not interested in. But and you also brought up something pretty interesting. Well, two other things, but checks in the mail. So I have a buddy who I used to work with, and then he started his own GP investment firm. And his goal was he's old school, he's from Louisiana, and he's like, I'm writing a check to everyone. I'm sending them a nice check, writing a letter with them and sending this out. And he started doing that like a couple months. It was like, all right, I'm not doing this anymore. So he had nice checks that he had made and sent all these out. And it got to the point where not only did he not want to do that after a while, but you've now created work for your investor. Whenever I get a check, I'm always like, oh, like I get this little dividend check, which is like $1 or something every 3 months from some company I used to work for. And I'm always like, oh, now I got to like take a picture of it on my phone. It's like, if you send someone a check, you've given them a job, or you've created like a task that they need to do. They either need to, which isn't that hard, take a picture of it, or they need to go to the bank and deposit. And so he finally realized that. He's like, all right, I got to stop sending checks. I'm going to use the system to do all this stuff. And then another thing that we do as a tech company, so we've used two things that I think have made us, especially in the remote world, more efficient, is a company called Pragly, Pragli. It works it's like a Zoom, but it's essentially a virtual office. So we've created different rooms for it. So we have like a customer success channel, a growth channel, et cetera. But you can see who's on. So in the morning, some people will hop on there, and then you can just ping someone. So it's essentially like you're walking and knocking on the door. The door will knock. If you're available, you can answer it, but then you can talk right then. So you're not then sending us like, we used to do this with customer success. Hey, someone will say, hey, can you hop on a Zoom call? Like, yeah, cool. I'm available at 10:30. Is that cool for you? Well, we don't hear from you till 10:45. You're like, no, that wasn't cool. How about 11? And then you don't hear back from me. So we used to do that internally too. And we're like, all right, Pragly, you can literally just knock on someone's door. If they're ready, cool. If not, we'll just send them a quick like little Slack. But so that's helped tremendously of just us getting in a room together. And it's a startup company, and I don't want to talk for them, but I think they're free to real cheap right now. But worth checking out, and especially because they do some cool stuff. But then Loom is another thing that we've been huge on. And I'll tell some of our GPs, like, if they ask, how do I show my investors how to get this deal? Create a Loom as if you're a new investor, walk through that whole process and add that in the deal room and say, all right, if you have any confusion with how to do this, like run through this, and then you run through, do it on your portal. It helps you kind of understand the process. But then they've got a video there that you can always go back and reference. But it's sped up our turn times tremendously, because we used to do that process I was talking about before, where we go back and forth. All right, we need to hop on a call, where you could just say, hey, I added GP shares in project 1, 2, 3. Can you see if I did that right? I can look on real quick and go, whenever I get a minute. I mean, if I have a call at 10 o'clock, it's 9:55 my time right now. I can look on and go, all right, this is what you do. I make a 45-second video. This is what you should have done, or this is what you did. Looks all good, and then done. And we don't have to go back and forth of, hey, how's 10 o'clock for you? Not good. How's 11 for you? Or here's my Calendly or whatever. It just kind of we can knock it out real quick, get on to the next one, and then try to help them out too. So those two technologies have been absolutely huge for us as a tech remote company. That's we think it's made us kind of more efficiently, at least on the back end. And some get annoyed by the Looms, and at some point you've got to hop on a call, and no problem doing that. But I know if it's like, all right, here's a quick solution, you watch this minute video, 45 seconds, 30 seconds, and I know it'll knock it out real quick, and we don't have to hop on a call. That's perfect. But you're always, at some point, you're probably going to have to, if there's confusion, hop on a call and kind of help you guys out. But
yeah, no, we're Loom fanatics. We shoot videos all the time. It just makes things easier, right? Which is great.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, Brad, I want to go back and highlight one thing as we're nearing the end of our conversation here, and just for the audience that's listening, and I think it's important to highlight. You mentioned this a couple of times. You were a formal capital raiser yourself, so you were an actual syndicator as well. You were out there going and raising investor funds. So now being involved with InvestNext, it's not just you guys are a tech company. I mean, you guys are a team that's been in the business you've been investors yourself, and you understand the dynamic of being an operator or a limited partner in a deal. So I think that's important just to highlight. We always like bringing that up when, our professionals in the space are actually living and breathing the industry as well, right? So you're a former investor, maybe hopefully still an active investor now, but also involved in the business, which I think helps merges the needs between you guys as a service that you're providing to us as clients, but us as general partners who are like, hey, how do we best serve our investor database? How do we make this, like they said, just a seamless process to where they always want to keep coming back to us?
Right. And I think I've learned so much from this. Like I had my mentor when I first started was awesome. Learned a ton from him from the first company I started at. And we brought that mentality into here. And then it's like, all right, I need to throw that away. I have the overall, keep the overall scheme of how you raise capital, but everyone's going to do it different. And we need to adapt, just because at first it was like, why are they doing it that way? They should be doing it this way. Then it's like, all right, get rid of that mindset and just be, all right, I know the industry, and we know the industry, but let's take their feedback. Just because it doesn't make sense to me doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. But then let's throw this and kind of have a discussion. So I think it's good. It's been good. But then it's kind of like, all right, throw a little bit of your ego away, and how you used to do it, and then kind of edit and adapt to how everyone's doing it now, because it's literally changed. I mean, I know you mentioned like 2022, what we're going to do, Brian, but it's like where we see it. I mean, it's probably going to be different 3 months from now. And it's then, 3 months later, it's crazy, just the stuff. But we've been excited about the last two years have been just amazing growth. And some of the stuff we have like coming down the pipe that we're working on, that fund management, and a couple other things that we're kind of keeping in the sleeve, or I don't know how you want to say, but we're just kind of keeping them back. Will be cool at the beginning of next year that we're kind of developing. But yeah, it's all beautiful, and it's an amazing industry, and the alternative investments groups like yourself, and some of the partners that we've had have been just absolutely phenomenal. And that's I think been huge to our growth. It's just like we've been lucky enough to have some real leaders in the space that have a lot of positive feedback or a lot of negative feedback. But anyway, we'll take the feedback and try to edit and adapt it how quick we can. So it's been without our customers and our clients, we couldn't be where we are today. So.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, you get two good accolades here on our end. I mean, it's been great. Like I said, great working with you guys. And again, just I love the customer service aspect, and always evolving. Like I said, always taking that feedback, always looking at ways to innovate the platform and make it easier and efficient. And it's just been a great experience. So looking forward to your growth, looking forward to seeing the future changes that are coming, and just being a part of that, man. It's been fun so far. But Brian, before we get off here with Brad, anything that we didn't ask, anything that you wanted to cover?
No, everything's been great, Brad. Really appreciate you coming on the show and adding value and letting everybody know about InvestNext. So we're excited to share the story and our experience as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Always love talking to you guys, and hopefully in Q1 we'll be in Texas and can do some sort of meetup gathering and get a bunch of people together and trade stories, and hopefully maybe you find some more sponsors that you can work with or expand the network, or maybe new investors too. But hopefully looking forward to seeing you guys again at some point. I'm sure it'll be Q1, hopefully.
Likewise, man. Can't wait. We'll even come pick you up at the airport. Brian will even have a cup of coffee prepared for you. So
that's funny. I know you said coffee connoisseur. I am terrible with coffee. I don't drink coffee at all. You don't either, huh?
See, Brian, look, see, I'm not the only one, man.
You and I are.
I'm going to hop off now.
I thought I was you two are me and you are the only two that don't, I think.
I know.
But Evan will drink coffee. So when Evan comes, I'm sure he'll be good. But I'm a wuss with it. I mean, you throw a little bit of caffeine in there, and I'll be ready to go.
Make you a decaf.
I'd love to try it. Maybe you can get me going on it. But I've been gone this far. Haven't needed it. I used to do Red Bull, which is terrible. I'd rather get the coffee. But I work out in the morning, so that kind of gets me going anyway. So
there you go.
That's kind of my kick. But perfect. Yeah, definitely take a ride.
Awesome. Well, Brad, man, before we get off here, tell the audience how they can get connected with you and learn more about InvestNext.
Yeah, so we've got LinkedIn you can follow. We've got InvestNext on there. Me, Brad St. Onge. It's ST.ONGE, so it's kind of a little confusing. But so I'm on LinkedIn. You can hit me up at brad@investnext.com. We've got Instagram too. We're trying to grow that Instagram. It's our social media presence has been awful, but we're trying to be better with that. But we've got InvestNext software, and I'm on there somewhere. I think it's Brad St. Onge or something. But cool. Yeah, we're excited about this year and love partnering with you guys and love the show. Keep up the good work.
Awesome, man. You guys keep innovating, keep being great stewards to the community here, and look forward to catching up with you again soon. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Till the next one.